Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Awakener podcast. It's good to be with you today. If this is your first time listening to the show, you're not going to understand what's going on. It's very complicated. I go very fast. You can call me the energy drink man or whatever you want to say. But I just spit everything that's happening very, very quickly. So to really comprehend what is happening, you need to go to my website, theawakener.ca. This is a vast resource to explain to you what is happening. The beautiful thing about this podcast is that, well, number one, I don't do shows all the time. There might be a couple weeks or 2 or 3 weeks that go by. I don't do a show. This is normal. This means that nothing major is happening where I feel an urge to speak about it or I'm on a break. Shows are typically done when I feel some kind of created edge or something works me up in the news where I want to talk about it. And this is one of those days. Go back in my previous shows, listen to them. Even some of them that are a year old, you'll be like, wow, what on earth? I've been doing this show for 8 years now. We've gone up to 10,000 subscribers. I lost them all. My YouTube account got shut down. Spotify got shut down. We brought them back up. They got shut down again. And then my Rumble got shut down, and it's just been a giant disaster. I've been trying to get information out to what is happening for the average person, but obviously it's not happening. And don't be surprised if one day they actually take away this podcast. Yeah, there's going to be a whole host of problems that come along with that. The Canadian government is really dangerous. Go back and listen to my old shows. I told you that every single person who was compromised would cross the floor. I told you that there was going to be other people that were going to cross the floor from the conservatives to the liberals a long time ago. And the reason why this is happening is because our government, the establishment government in Canada and the European Union and the United States. Now, this is not the government that works for Trump. This is the government that works for the Democrats. This left-wing agenda is being removed from the United States of America. Why is that? Well, because their founder, I guess, it's not really the founder of the Democrat Party. It's more the person who leads the financial charge, the one who's providing all the money, the one who has provided kind of the media apparatus and makes people famous, the one who, spends a bunch of dollars on revolutions and paid protesters and all this stuff. This person, George Soros, goes all the way back to the Iron Curtain, specifically starting in the Soviet bloc. He didn't even start on our side, and this has been a faked Iron Curtain collapse that the USA has bought. So what you are witnessing is the removal or the waking up to communism and the removal of this left-wing agenda that carries a hidden Soviet agenda with it, and its removal. And our Canadian government, back on track, our Canadian government, the European Union government, and the establishment government in the US are implicated in high treason against the Western world, specifically with Iran, North Korea, Russia, and China. Wow. So given this information, I told you that the government of Canada knows specifically what it's doing. They told you that they were not compromised. They investigated themselves. Oh, we're not compromised. Here's the report. Believe it. Nonsense. I know it, and I've been telling you about this for quite some time. The reason why they're doing what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen, is because they know they're going to be implicated in this war, and they're moving things around the pieces to put in place de facto martial law in Canada, de facto martial law in the European Union, and kind of a state of emergency where they do not give up control, they give up power. This is quite a feat to accomplish, considering that Canada has a much smaller military than the United States of America, and the European Union also has a much smaller military than the United States of America. This is why they've been ganging up and signing these treaties to work together, because they're going to have to find some way to stay in power, because there's going to be a huge war with the USA, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and China. And this will all make sense to you probably months from now, when all the dust settles and people understand that our government was involved in the shipping of U.S. uranium over to Iran, and they're working covertly with this regime, which means anything they tell you about out of their mouth, which means we're pro, Jewish people and we care about the Jewish people, is all bullshit. They are absolute liars and traitors, and they are working for this communist agenda to take over us. And the general population is going to be served up this truth very soon. We're not quite at this war yet. I still think there's some time. I've talked about Kim Jong-un and my feelings about him and what he's preparing for right now, and how there are some new spy satellites that are going to go up in the near future. So I'm keeping an eye on everything. I don't believe that President Trump and crew actually want to decapitate the regime as we speak right now. Soon, but not quite as we speak, because there's a bunch of stuff that people have to learn. Notice how people are on the side of they think is true and moral. So Iran is out killing their own civilians, maybe killing as many as 10,000 of them. But this is the regime that supports the Palestinian movement, supports Hamas and crew, and yet all you confused losers still can't figure out what side of the coin you're on. And this really equates back to kind of the definition of this podcast, really explaining to you that we do live in a fallen world. And unfortunately, there's two military industrial complexes that exist in this world, and we all have to choose a side. I know what side I'm on. I'm the side of the Western world in America. I'm not on the side of communism. I don't agree with radical Islam. And this is kind of why I created this podcast. Now, for us who live in Canada, I know Americans, a lot of you think, well, Canada doesn't matter. It does matter. The government of Canada is working covertly with the Chinese, in my point of view, to set up covert Chinese government operating in Canada to basically fund, how do I say this? To fund and arm a bunch of trained individuals who have come here a long time ago, who are specifically military age men, and they're working as a front against the USA. Now, remember, the globalists had put together this giant plan where the USA would have been decimated by an EMP attack from North Korea, that Israel would be decimated by an EMP attack from a nuclear bomb in outer space on a satellite from Iran. And obviously, they think that the war is going to go a certain way because they know that something is coming. And this gives them an edge, they think. But everything is going to go not according to plan. And really, they're going to be completely exposed in what happens. This is a very, very dangerous time to be alive. As I talked to you from the beginning, you can take my podcast and you go, well, that's crazy. Like, that can't possibly be true. I assure you it is true. 6 years ago, when I did this podcast, I predicted that Canada would be annexed in war by the United States of America. And only till maybe a year and a half ago did people ever start paying attention to that. Even friends of mine. Now, I will admit, they never gave me any sort of credit for anything. But I told them the same thing. And now they're calling me saying, what on earth is happening, Matt? Why is our government acting the way they're doing? It's because our government works for the Russians. Now, this is not to say that a bunch of Russian people are around and running everything. This is what the left is going to tell you. We're the Russian people. It's an ideology. It's communism. It's not about Vladimir Putin necessarily, although he's the military organizer of obviously Russia's military agenda. It's about communism. It's about a way of thinking, a belief structure. It's about viewing the U.S. as imperialistic, greedy, and not a good thing for the world. When in fact, the U.S. has brought prosperity and wages and home ownership and a bunch of things and lifted millions upon millions of people out of poverty. Everyone's going to have to pick a side, ladies and gentlemen. I know my side. Do you? That's all for now.